Hopefully everyone can hear me and see my screen. So first of all, I want to start. Thank you all for being here and for joining today's session. I am super thrilled to be here at the CSM Summit. Thank you to Client Success for inviting me. I am going to be speaking about one of the topics that makes me super passionate, which is using data to boost customer retention. My name is Erika Villarreal. I am a customer success manager currently at SmartMoving Software, and let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to walk you through the agenda for today. First thing is I'm going to be talking about a little bit about me, seeing from my background and what I've been doing in customer success. I will be touching points on the pain points and challenges that every frontline CSM lives day to day. I will also talk about how data will help you overcome those challenges and why is data important in the life of a CSM. I will also be talking about the Fivewise technique, which is one of my favorite techniques that will help us solve problems and get to the bottom of things. And finally, I will be sharing with you all a lot of examples of how I've used data in the past to drive customer retention. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, a little bit about me. I have been in the customer success world for a little bit over 3 years as a customer success manager, frontline CSM, just as everyone here in this presentation. I have been in the SaaS world for a little bit over 6 years. I had the opportunity to co-found a FinTech company back in Mexico 6 years ago. I am currently working at SmartMoving Software, helping build our CS program for scale. The good thing about this is that I am super passionate about data. Most of all of my decisions are made taking data into consideration. That does not mean that I do not have hunches. Of course, I do have hunches, but when I do, I try to prove those hunches with data. So data everywhere, basically. I have a passion for improving efficiencies, automating processes, building for scale, and this is why this is the topic for today's session. Okay, so let's get started. As far as the challenges that we face as frontline CSMs, I'm sure that everyone here can relate to these 4 things that I'm going to be mentioning here. First thing is that as CSMs, one of the hardest things or one of the most important things is getting the customer to see value as soon as possible. Another thing that it's a challenge for us is that sometimes we lack visibility on the product usage and what the customer is doing with our platform and what not doing, right? As well, another big challenge for us sometimes is that it's hard to maintain our customers engaged. So because of all of the customers that we manage and the onboarding journey and the post-onboarding journey, sometimes we find it hard to maintain them engaged. And this is one of the challenges that we face. And if you are a CSM that's managing a big book of customers like I am, for example, I manage somewhere around 150 customers at SmartMoving, you'll find it difficult sometimes that to be able to personalize your engagements for the success of your customers. So the good news is that data will help us overcome all of these challenges. So let's talk now why data is important and how it will help you boost retention rates. Okay, the first thing is that data will help you identify process improvements, and those process improvements will help you save time, save effort, and that time and effort can be dedicated to boost more conversations and proactively engagement with your customers. Another thing that's also important about data is that it will help you increase customer engagement. It will also help you find the solutions to different sets of problems that you live day to day. And by doing this, I'm going to mention here the Fivewise technique, which I'm going to be deep diving a little bit down the road on this presentation. One other good thing about data is that it will help you back up your assumptions. So sometimes you feel like you've got enough information from customers and you're starting to feel like you've got an assumption, and proving that assumption with data will help you show your manager that something needs to be changed, whether it's a process or a different strategy on your follow-ups with your customers. And one of the most important things, and in fact, the one that I like most about data, is that it helps you measure your results. So that said, Data will allow you to measure the effectiveness of any given strategy that you have been trying with your customers to boost engagement or improve your retention rates or any other metric that you're going to be measured on as a customer success manager. All of this information will help you boost your retention rates. Okay. So I'm going to be mentioning in the next following slides some examples of how I've used data in the past to improve, for example, a process improvement. So I have a story here with this slide that I want to share with you. When I recently joined SmartMoving, we were building our onboarding journey and we were just building our processes. So from those processes, I was looking into my numbers and trying to understand what the results were for me and comparing those numbers to my teammates. And I realized that my numbers were significantly lower than lower than my teammates. And I was curious and I was asking to myself, like, why is my result being lower than him, right? So because I was curious enough, I reached out to my teammate and I walked with him throughout the process that he was doing to get the customer to complete that X milestone, right? And I figured out that from the process that he was doing, he was adding an additional task to his process that I was not doing, which marked all the difference between his results and mine. So that said, because I was curious enough and because I was able to identify from the data that I was taking into consideration, we were able to improve the process for all the CSMs in our team, meaning that not only I improved my numbers, but all of the teammates in my company did as well. So that was one good thing that we were able to do because of data. Now I'm going to share with you here in the next slide. This is real information from customers in the onboarding journey at SmartMoving. And as you can see here, what I'm showing in this table is I'm showing different advanced settings that the customer needs to complete from their onboarding journey. And I got this information from my customer success tool, which in this case is Churn Zero, is a CS tool that we're currently using. But I found out that Churn Zero did not have the ability to track these numbers month to month or week to week. Like I was able to look at my numbers today, but I didn't know that number, how it compared to the previous week or how it would compare for my results for the next week. So I thought, how about I export this information from Churn Zero, I translate this data into an Excel spreadsheet that will allow me to track my results for each one of my settings. So what I was able to identify and realize is that my strategies that I was using to improve my numbers were actually working. As you can see here in this graph, for setting 5, I started with 56% of my customers achieving this milestone, which was completing setting 5. And by the end of April, I was able to take those numbers from 56 to 66. That is a 10% increase that I would not be able to understand or review if I had not had the initiative of exporting this information and actually tracking that in an Excel spreadsheet. Now, you might think this 10% is like, it sounds like a lot or a little. We don't know if it's too much change or not. But what I can tell you is that the strategies that I used to make these improvements were simple changes in my kickoff call that allowed me to communicate better to my customer the benefits of actually completing these settings. And by just changing the wording and just changing the information that I was showing on my kickoff call, I was able to improve these numbers. Now, the good thing about tracking this information is that it will help you understand if your strategies are working or if they're not. From what you can see here in this graph, most of the settings improved from December to April, which means that my work has been actually working and getting the customers to complete these milestones. One other good thing about tracking this information is, and this is a little secret that I'm going to share with you, is that you can actually show off to your manager, hey, look, my numbers are improving. I am working different strategies. They are working. Sometimes those strategies can even be replicated with the rest of your teammates. So this is another thing of why measuring data and tracking information is important. Okay. I'm going to share one of my favorite quotes here, and I believe Kristen shared this as well in her presentation earlier today. And this quote says, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And by saying that, I'm also going to add something additional that says, there is always something to improve. Always. You can make a tweak, you can make a change to a process, you can make a change, even the way that you communicate or wording can make a process feel better and you have better results. So if you're not tracking information, if you're not logging in and reviewing this data, you will not be you will not be able to improve that part of the process. Okay. So I've also mentioned in the past that one of the my favorite techniques is the Fivewise technique. So the basis of the Fivewise technique lies on you just being curious. It's you asking the right questions at the right time. Like, for example, maybe me being curious as to ask my teammate, hey, what are you doing different that I'm not doing? And why are your results different than mine, right? So just asking questions, why is this customer being successful? What do healthy customers have in common? Why is this customer churning? Is there a pattern in this data? Can I take into consideration these different sets of things that I'm learning from a specific behavior of a customer that can allow me to make a decision and a change in the process that I'm actually doing? So that said, one of the other things that I do want to mention and clear out here is sometimes people get freaked out when they hear the word data. People think it's complex, that it's difficult, that tracking numbers, it's kind of like a superpower. And the reality, it is not. Information is just data. Like, it doesn't have to be data that comes out from your product. It can be data that comes out from a call with a customer, from a meeting with a customer. In fact, information that is one of the most powerful information comes out from kickoff calls, which is not product usage and which is not coming out from a software. It's really you asking questions to a customer to understand, is this a customer a right fit for your product? Why did the customer sign up in the first place? What is this customer looking to achieve? So this type of information that does not come from the product itself, it comes from a meeting with a customer. And that's also data that you can use for your advantage moving down the road. Now, let's take this information and see how that translates into data in action. The first thing is to clearly identify your customers' goals, which, like I mentioned before, is data. So you can always lead with value. The second point here would be to track product usage data that will help you validate if they have completed a next milestone of their journey. With point 1 and 2, then the third point would be to personalize your engagement to get them to complete the milestone, explaining the benefit for them, not for you. Remember, every conversation that you have with your customer, whether it's phone call or if it's an email or a text message or whatever type of communication, you have always to lead with value to them. So what's in it for them, benefits for them, and not for you. So that said, it's what actually you do with the data that's powerful, not the data itself. Okay? I'm going to close with a real life example of how I was able to put these 3 points in action to get a customer to react to one of my conversations. So the way this worked was, I learned from the kickoff call from the kickoff call with my customer that they were looking to track payroll for their crew members, right? So remember, SmartMoving it's a software for the moving industry. So they wanted to track payroll for crew members. And from the product that I was looking from Churn Zero, I was looking into their users report, and I found out that they were not closing out jobs. And for us in SmartMoving, closing out jobs translates into tracking payroll. So that means that the customer, because the customer was not closing out jobs, they were not tracking payroll. So since I had the opportunity to track information from what they wanted to do from the kickoff call and information from what the product tells us that he was doing, I was able to build a template that allowed, this template was addressed to this customer specifically. It was personalized for this customer. And I addressed this email as, do you want to save time tracking payroll? Then again, it's always with the value that he's gonna get out, not saying, hey, why aren't you not closing out jobs? So more than that, it's why, if you do this, you will be able to save time tracking payroll, right? Because I was able to address this email using value for them and the benefit for them, the customer reacted back and said, hey, I'm really interested in this. How can we set up time to get this done, right? So if you're able to identify and have the right information at the right time, that will definitely get your customers to be more engaged and to react and to get them to complete the milestones that they say they wanted to complete in the first place. So I think we have a couple of minutes for a Q&A. I'm really thankful for this presentation and for being here. Thank you very much all for joining. Here's my LinkedIn profile. If you want to connect, I am happy to do so. And if you have any questions, please reach out. I'm happy to assist. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erika. Really appreciate it. And like I said, before we even started with you, I don't think you can go 30 seconds in our game without somebody asking something about show me the data for this, show me the data for that. And so I think there's a ton of stuff that folks can learn from that. One of the things that I saw kind of here in the chat pane that might be interesting to dig into is like, imagine I don't have any kind of data collection. I don't have any I'm not even started on this. Like in your case, like you've got some software tools, you've got some places to pull data from. Like what would be your advice from somebody that's like just, starting out? They're saying, they listened to you and they said, okay, I've got to go start to build some type of a data culture. What are the first like one or two steps you think they ought to take?
Well, the first steps I would suggest them do is, if you do not have like a customer success tool that helps you with this type of information, like I said, you can always track other types of engagements. So for example, this type of email templates, you can see if the customer opened the email, if they replied to the email. You can start doing A/B testing, for example. So you can try one different email with one customer, another different email with that customer, and then measure the results. So if you do not have, for example, information from your product, you can start doing other types of analysis that can help you drive retention as well.
So I took an intro stats class in college, way back. I don't even want to say how long ago that was. But I'm by no means like an expert. Is there anything you could say to me like, just do these two things and like this is the best way to learn. This is the best way to kind of, I bet a lot of folks on the call like don't even know what data or stats or what to even be asking. What would you say to that?
The things that I would recommend is always being curious as to double click on a specific behavior of your customer. So one of the things that you could do is try to understand why the customer got there, how they engage with the platform, and understanding from that, making sure that you are able to build different sets of engagements to get them to drive.
That's a cool idea.
To move along their onboarding journey. And
Cool. No, that makes sense. No, again, really appreciate you taking the time. Maybe any last things you want to share with folks before we wrap up?
Yes. Do not be scared of data. Like I said, data is not complex. It's just information that you will be able to just manage to build new strategies, to build new engagements, and to drive customer retention. Do not be scared of it. It's just out there for you to analyze.
Cool. No, really appreciate it.